Space Dandy Season 2, Episode 6, Rock and Roll Dandy, baby. Definitely a good episode. I enjoyed the comedy in it. I enjoyed the actual song that we finally got to hear at the end of the episode, which I didn't actually expect. I thought that they somehow actually got famous just doing the same couple of chords over and over again. But it was definitely a great episode. It was really funny. There's oddly a lot of action in it when you really think about it. It was just comedy action because they kept attacking each other and oddly enough, drop kicking each other, which is how we get the name drop kicks. But it was a pretty cool episode. We got a character. I love the beginning where it's like his name reverberates power and stuff, and it's like Johnny. And it's like, oh, okay, well, Johnny just, it's a normal name. But that was pretty funny. I enjoyed them actually getting together. Dandy fighting with the guy, and like when the guy's like, that's disgusting, you didn't wash your hands. And then he's like, this coming from a guy who didn't flush the toilet after taking a huge dump. So that was funny. Then they got into their first actual fight, and then they just end up being buddies, and then they find out they both want to be rock stars. And then they go into that, and they go into arguing and stuff. Honestly, I thought the episode was going to end where they really didn't even have a song. They were just going to go through the whole episode trying to get a song going the entire time, and then they would eventually just fail at that at the end of the episode because all they did was talk about stuff that comes after being famous, like what merch you're gonna have, what giveaways you're gonna have, like stickers and flags, and how you're gonna act during interviews, which all of that stuff continuously led to arguments. But it was really funny. It was just the silliest stuff, and then they finally got down to making the actual song, and that led to my favorite part of the episode. The Gallagher reference was really cool to me. And when Johnny first started playing, I'm like, I know this song off like the first couple of chords. I just couldn't place it. And then of course they actually showed me out playing Galaga, and I was like, that's amazing to me because Galaga is like my favorite arcade game, and that's why I recognize the sound so well because I play that game all the time. I just haven't played it forever, so I didn't catch it instantly. But I love that reference. That was funny. And then of course they had another song that's really popular too, and it was just like Johnny's trying to come up with these songs, and he just keeps saying like it came to me, like it's here, and he's just playing crap. And then after the two songs that he just stole from something else, he couldn't think of a single thing until he finally came up with a couple of chords. And then of course when they had their first gig, that was just really funny. Like they kept playing it over and over, and they played it for 2 hours, and then Dandy's like, we can do this all night, and he was about to do it again. And then he has to drop kick the manager of the place because he's like, don't do that. And the way the guy said it, I thought was really funny. And then they got in an argument with him. But overall, I thought it was a really good episode. It was really funny. I actually did enjoy the song. It was cool that we got another Space Dandy song, which I thought was really interesting. I don't think we had some songs in the previous season, all of which I thought were really well done. But this season we actually got Dandy himself in two of the songs, so that kind of makes him a bit more unique. It makes it a bit more interesting, honestly. And this one I enjoy more than the Viva Viva All song because I kind of like rock and it just sounds better to me personally. But it's cool that Dandy's actually in some of the custom music that we're actually getting this season, so that was pretty cool. But love the references, love the music. Overall, I thought it was a great episode. We actually got a tiny snippet of information about the Gogol Empire and who they're actually going up against since we got Johnny in this episode, which I forgot that Gogol was even in an actual war against other people. And I think that was in the very first episode where it was like the Gogol Empire is going up against these people, but we'll get to that at some other point. And that was in the very first episode of the series, I believe. And it was just like they were in a space battle in the background and nothing was happening. And we actually got to see the other side of this war, so that was pretty interesting. It was, of course, with it being Space Dandy, it was just like last week's episode with Honey, where it was a tiny bit of information that may or may not be useful for the series, and it might actually come back into play. But it was cool that we actually got that, and I didn't really think about that too much, but that's mostly because it wasn't really the focus of the episode. But loved it, loved the concert that they put on. It was funny. Them arguing and them just trying to outstage each other was hilarious to me. Like Dandy with his shirt just all the way up, like gyrating on the microphone, and then Johnny just basically just bends over and shakes his butt while he's doing the guitar, and then Dandy like kicks him, which I also thought was interesting. Johnny can play the guitar even while standing on his head apparently, because he got kicked by Danny. He was just on his head and he like flipped off of his head and he was still playing, and I thought that was kind of silly too. But I love that, and then they had like the almost it was a Gundam basically outside the stadium, and it looked really cool. And I love when Johnny actually came out, like when well, I can't say Gundam, but when the robot actually opened up, it was just a gold lion's head. I thought that looked really cool, and I was like, of course, because why not? It's just over the top. So that was cool. But overall, I enjoyed the concert that they had. We got to hear some of the song, and then they actually played the entire thing at the end. It was a good song. And one thing that really caught my attention in this episode early on too was when they were really getting down to basically trying to figure out what the name really was, and Honey gave them the actual idea for what they chose. Honey in that scene was probably like the sexiest they've ever drawn her in like the entire series, honestly, because I feel like they don't actually do that. They don't, as much as they talk about boobies, they don't really focus on like how the girls move around and stuff, except for maybe in the first couple episodes of the series. But in this, she's like moving around. They put a real focus on it in this, and I don't know why they did that. Maybe they just thought we haven't done that in a long time, so they do. But I thought that was pretty interesting because we don't really see Honey, like that's kind of her purpose, but we don't actually see her that way too often. And she's like actually moving around. They added the sound effects, like when she actually did the part when she gave them the Dropkick's name. They had her like she leaned back and she was looking upside down, and they basically made like the wiggling sound for her boobs. So I thought that was funny. And they had the part where she was like shaking her butt in front of Meow, and he was just like looking right at her butt. Like I don't think she was shaking it. She was just sitting, and her butt happened to be right in his face, and he was just like staring right at her, like with his face in his beer. And I thought that was funny, but it was an interesting part because we didn't really get that. I think she might have been shaking her butt, and when Dandy was looking at her butt, but the whole time I thought it was really funny. And it was just like we don't actually get to see this too often, so when we do, it's not just like, oh, that's the hot character of the show. It's actually pretty silly and funny because they have the other characters looking at her, and it's just over the top because we don't get it all the time. So it's over the top, and it's not overused yet because they, as hot as she is for the show, like she's the hot character, they don't really use her in that way. It's for, even though she works at the place called Boobies. So I thought that was pretty cool that we actually got to see Honey used in that way, because I don't feel the show actually overuses her in that aspect. Even when they just naturally show her, it's not like she's always just bouncing around all the time. So it was actually pretty cool to actually get the, I guess, more typical version of her, so to speak. But I enjoyed the episode overall. I thought it was a really funny one. I don't know, it went by really fast, but I really enjoyed it. It was just over and over again. I just kept laughing at them fighting over stupid stuff. Them arguing about stuff, like they argued about money that they didn't have. And I kind of wish I saw that when it was one of the sort of just like picture moments where they were arguing, and then Johnny hit Dandy with the briefcase. And I was just wondering, like, what did he hit him, like what did he hit him with, like in this briefcase? What was actually in there? What could they have been arguing about? Who brought this money in this suitcase? And they just argue in front of this statue or something. But I enjoyed it. Also, Johnny loving French fries and stuff. I thought that was just randomly silly and interesting. But definitely love this episode. Love the song. Gonna have to find it and download it now because it's yet another song I like in the season or in the series in general. But comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And since we got a new song, I guess, and I don't think I asked this the last time when he was in the high school. But what is your favorite song that you've had in the entire series from this season as well as last season? I think we have honestly about the same amount of songs. I think we might have only three here, and it might have been like four or five. I think there were about five, three of which I remember, maybe four. And then there was one when he was on like the plant planet. They had a song, but I didn't really, personally, I didn't really like that song. It was just a bunch of noises for the most part, I think. But that was like, a song I kind of skipped over. But what was your favorite song out of the series so far? If I had to choose, I would probably have to go with the one that he did during the surfing episode. I really love that song, and I wish I could remember the name. If you look up the video, that clip from that episode, you can find the name of the song. People have it now. I don't know if you can find it on YouTube still. I even when I found the name, I was looking for it. I still couldn't find the whole song yet, so it might be out there now. That was a while ago when I did that, but definitely look that up if that's your favorite song. But please put your favorite song below, and of course your favorite parts, your least favorite parts about the episode. And thanks for watching.